A couple. The echoes of the past seemed to smile, yet I had no intention of seeking their validation. That's either remarkable talent or sheer foolishness. Fortune. The voice came from a woman casually leaning against the bar, her brunette hair shimmering softly in the low light. She possessed the kind of green eyes that noticed every detail and a smile that hinted she could see right past my carefully built walls. "Another equipment failure," Joe James grumbled, his brow glistening with sweat as he wiped it away. "Another one. This quarter. This." "It wasn't defeat," I insisted, as I nudged a fragment of debris with my foot. This was a serious oversight. Once more, the safety protocols had been overlooked. Enhanced security systems, likely sourced from military surplus, has been adapted for civilian use without adequate testing. Someone was taking shortcuts, and others were suffering the consequences, pain. I jotted down thoughts in my journal, capturing the essence of the day. Every detail feels like a whisper of rebellion, a quiet defiance against the constraints that bind us. That, as the sun dipped below the horizon, I found myself yearning for a moment of solitude to sort through my thoughts. Murphy's Pool Hall lingered on the outskirts of downtown Phoenix, a nostalgic echo of days gone by. All vibrant lights and the scent of smoke lingering in the air. The familiar faces hardly glanced my way as I entered, and that was just how I preferred it. All right. For months I had been drawn to this place, lost in thought as I navigated complex equations while effortlessly sinking challenging shots. I focused my attention and set up a challenging shot, measuring the angles with the precision of intricate puzzles that occupied my mind. Moments. The cue ball danced off 3 rails, gracefully guiding the 8-ball into the corner pocket with precision. A couple. The echoes of the past seemed to smile, yet I had no intention of seeking their validation. That's either remarkable talent or sheer foolishness. Fortune. The voice came from a woman casually leaning against the bar, her brunette hair shimmering softly in the low light. She possessed the kind of green eyes that noticed every detail, and a smile that hinted she could see right past my carefully built walls. Everything about her radiated an alluring risk, from her snug leather jacket to the way she carried herself with a tension that suggested she was ready to spring into action. Spring. Expertise, I remarked, my gaze fixed on the table. Lux is not dependable. Her moved with an alluring confidence, choosing a cue from the wall rack. Melanie Garcia. And you find yourself in a driven individual or someone seeking validation. Rose Bryant. And I have nothing to prove to anyone. Great. She took her time, carefully chalking her cue with an air of focused intent. Because I'm ready to claim what belongs to you, both your wealth and your dignity. We engaged in a playful exchange. 2 hours. Every move was a strategic dance of emotions, every encounter heightening the tension. She glided around the table like she embraced her power, making decisions with flawless accuracy. As she bent to reach those challenging spots, I found myself captivated, admiring the graceful line of her back, the way her dark hair cascaded softly over her face. You aim with precision, I remarked after she made an incredibly challenging shot. Her smile became enticingly fierce. Near. I create. What snipers use. That stopped me cold. The cue stick felt suddenly weighty in my hands. You're a creator of weapons, among other talents. She prepared her last shot, the 8-ball teetering on the edge of the side pocket. Did I have a problem with that? Every instinct within me began to shout. Surplus from the military, enhanced security measures. There was a surge in availability, with unsuitable tools, and I sensed I was gazing at the origin. Yet, rather than turning away like the ordinary, as the tension grew, I felt myself drawn in, captivated by the possibilities. It all hinges on the purpose behind their creation. Her perfume. a mix of sweet and spicy notes that lingered in the air. Our eyes locked, and I felt a rush of warmth as the tension between us grew palpable. The game was forgotten, replaced by the unspoken connection that hung in the space between us. Her fragrance, a luxurious and captivating scent. I crafted instruments for those who must endure in perilous circumstances, such as those found on oil rigs. Her demeanor changed, turning inscrutable. In any setting, the carelessness of those in power endangers the lives of the unsuspecting. The realization struck me hard, a visceral reaction. She was aware. Somehow this woman seemed to understand me completely, recognizing not just my identity but also my profession. The coincidence felt almost surreal, too. Convenient. But before I could fully grasp what it meant, she moved in closer. So close that I could sense the warmth radiating from her skin. "Same time tomorrow night?" she asked, her voice lowering to a soft, inviting whisper. "I'll be here," I found myself saying, despite every instinct warning me that I was stepping into a snare. Her smile was captivating, and made my way to the door, but stopped just before stepping outside. "Rose, about that investigation you're involved in. On the equipment failures. Be cautious about whom you place your trust." Then she vanished, leaving me solitary with the lingering fragrance of her presence. The scent lingered in the air, mingling with the unsettling realization that my peaceful existence in Phoenix was on the brink of transformation. I arrived at Murphy's the following night, irresistibly pulled in, convincing myself it was merely curiosity. Melanie was already there, practicing trick shots with an effortless charm that made it seem like she belonged in every space she stepped into. She exchanged yesterday's leather jacket for a black silk blouse that made her green eyes look almost enchanting. "Thought you might back out," she said, without looking up from her drink. "I don't back out of anything." She finally, her gaze locked onto mine, and that familiar smile danced at the edges of her lips once more. "Show me. $50 a game. Winner takes all." The initial match confirmed that the previous day was no mere coincidence. She moved with a precision that felt almost otherworldly. Every shot, strategized several steps in advance. Yet, I had been honing my skills at the pool table since my college days, navigating my way through engineering school, one hustled game at a time. When I sank a difficult combination shot, she actually whistled appreciatively. "Not bad for a safety inspector. Not bad for someone in the business of arms." She paused, cue stick halfway to the chalk. "Is that really how you perceive me? I believe you create tools that ultimately lead to, in spaces where it doesn't belong, altered in manners that lead to tragic outcomes." The atmosphere in the room felt as if it had turned icy, 10 degrees. She straightened slowly, and I caught a glimpse of something fierce dancing in those green eyes. "Easy now, Rose. You're treading on thin ice. Assumptions about things you don't understand. Then enlighten me." She glided around the table with an air of confidence, like a hunter on the prowl, circling her target. Her voice lowering to just above a whisper. "I create intricate tools for those who put themselves in danger to safeguard others. If a corporation alters my work to cut costs and someone suffers as a result, that's not my responsibility. Of course it is. You were the one who distributed those weapons. And you worked for a company that prioritized profit over safety," she retorted, leaning forward across the table until we were inches apart. "How many hearts were broken because your leaders turned a blind eye to your truths?" The question struck like an emotional impact because she was justified. Every incident report I had submitted had been overshadowed by corporate jargon and insurance claims. The workers who lost their lives in those tragic incidents left behind families, children who would never again feel the warmth of their parents returning home. "That's unique," I mentioned on a weekly basis. "Is it?" She prepared another shot, her gestures edgy with repressed frustration. "We both navigate fields that exploit human existence for gain. The only distinction is, I'm open about it. The game unfolded in a charged stillness. Every move felt like a declaration. She was in the lead, methodically breaking down my barriers, one shot after another. When she finally pocketed the 8-ball, it hit me that I had been holding my breath. "Another round?" she inquired, though her tone had softened. "Why not? You haven't taken all my money yet." Something changed between us during the second game. The tension was still there, but beneath the surface was something deeper, something that quickened my heartbeat when she leaned in to align the shots. She exuded an intoxicating blend of luxury and thrill. I couldn't help but be captivated by the way her hands danced through the air, each movement deliberate and enchanting. "The table, you know," she remarked during a particularly long run. "For someone who despises what I do, you certainly seem." Curiosity sparked within me. A warm flush crept across my face. I focused intently on my rival. That's what we're calling it. Our eyes locked across the table, and for a moment, the tension shifted into an undeniable spark. She let her next shot slip, perhaps on purpose, and passed me the softest whisper, sending a shiver down my spine. I felt the heat between us, a spark that ignited something deep within. It was a moment suspended in time, where everything else faded away, leaving just the two of us in our own world. Before. I tried to concentrate on the game, but her aura was captivating. As I leaned down for a challenging shot, I sensed her gaze tracing the contours of my form. The sensation was both exhilarating and daunting in equal parts. "Rose," she said suddenly. "That equipment you're looking into, the security systems that let us down." I straightened, cue stick slipping from my mind. "What about them?" 3 guesses who created the original designs. The pieces came together with a disturbing clarity, understanding. "Your organization, my organization, but not my changes." Her expression darkened. It seemed someone had been dismantling their efforts, removing essential safeguards to reduce expenses. Lives are being lost because someone is profiting off counterfeit versions of my passion. "Why are you sharing this with me?" "This?" She remained silent for what felt like an eternity, her gaze fixed on my face as if deciphering a complex puzzle. "Perhaps it's because you're the first person I've encountered who truly cares about those who are suffering. Or maybe it's because you're attempting to sway me into retreating. Perhaps." She moved in closer, close enough that I could see flecks of gold in those green eyes. "But if I wanted to sway you, Rose, I'd use various approaches." The way she pronounced my name sent a thrill through me, stirring something deep within. This was risky ground, getting intimate with someone who should be my rival. But when she lifted her hand to tuck a strand of golden hair behind my face, I didn't pull away. "This is complicated," I whispered. "The best. Things typically are." 3 days later, I found myself amidst the remnants of yet another oil rig. This one was more devastating than the previous ones. 2 workers were in critical condition. One may not survive. The safety measures that were supposed to avert the blast had unraveled completely, and I was acutely aware of the one person whose influence would be evident in the initial design plans. The altered weapons bore the unmistakable mark of Mellon's craftsmanship, transformed and twisted into instruments of destruction. I captured every piece of twisted metal, chronicled every safety protocol that had been overlooked or discarded. My hands trembled with fury as I completed the incident report, fully aware it would vanish into the same corporate abyss as all the rest. Joe discovered me in my office that evening, enveloped by technical manuals and forensic photos. "Rose, you must allow. This one is going to be intense." "I absolutely do. These changes are causing so much harm. The legal team is on it. That's not your concern. Work." I glanced away from my computer screen, where I had been following the equipment supply chain back to its origin. "Ensuring safety is my responsibility, Joe. There's a serious issue at hand. Someone has been peddling dangerous devices to every oil company in Arizona. Someone needs to be held accountable. With very influential companions, she said softly. Companions who do not take kindly to scrutiny. The suggestion lingered, drifting softly, elusive and intangible. I had probed too deeply in the past, sought answers to matters that were meant to remain unspoken, buried. But this time felt different. This time, it was personal. That evening, I drove to Garcia Defense Solutions, a modern glass structure that contained Melanie's workplace. The parking area was mostly vacant, yet her motorcycle stood out, still there, a sleek black Ducati that exuded an air of thrill, much like its captivating owner. I lingered in my car for 20 minutes, weighing my options on whether to approach. Facing her felt like a bold move or a reckless gamble. The choice was taken out of my hands when she stepped out of the building, clad in leather, the jacket draped casually over her shoulder. She noticed my car right away and approached with a captivating confidence that drew me in. My heart raced despite everything. "Are you following me now?" she asked, leaning down to my window. "We need to talk about what happened today." Her expression shifted to one of concern. "I heard about the accident. How terrible. Too intertwined. Intensive care unit. One may not survive this journey." I stepped out of the car, craving a sense of balance between us. For this exchange. Utilizing your security system, with some adjustments naturally. A flicker of genuine pain crossed her face, and unfiltered. "Ugh, seriously. What changes are you referring to? You share your thoughts with me." I took out my phone, revealing the images I had captured. Someone removed all the protective measures, circumvented the safeguards, transformed precision tools into a powerful explosion. She examined the pictures, her jaw clenching with every glance. This is methodical, skilled. An individual equipped with advanced resources and technical expertise. Someone who understands you deeply. Those vibrant green eyes shot up to meet mine, burning with fury. "Do you really believe I was behind this? I believe your company created the initial framework. I believe you possess the skills needed to implement these changes, and I believe you've been toying with my heart since that fateful evening we crossed paths." She moved in, an electric tension crackling in the air around her. "You're curious. What are your thoughts, Rose? Your eagerness to assign blame seems to overshadow the need for deeper inquiry." "What do you mean? Why would I ever undermine my own efforts? Like, who gains from Garcia? Why is the defense being held responsible for the equipment malfunctions? Who has the ability to view both our designs and your incident reports?" The inquiries struck me with an intensity that felt almost tangible, yet I pressed on undeterred. "Perhaps you're concealing your true intentions. Perhaps you should stop approaching this with a detached, analytical mindset and start feeling the urgency of a life on the line. Are you trying to intimidate me? I'm doing this for your own good, you headstrong woman." She seized my arm, her touch sparking a thrill, even through my frustration. We've both been caught in a web, manipulated by someone who orchestrates a series of events leading to shattered lives and lost dreams. Ours and yours. So, what's stopping you from reaching out to the authorities? Because I simply don't understand where to place your faith. Her voice softened, barely rising above a whisper. Due to the relationships held by those involved in this, locations beyond my grasp. And as soon as I emerged with proof, I found myself in the crosshairs. I felt the urge to distance myself, to uphold the professional boundary that was already wavering. Instead, I found myself captivated by her features, observing for tales that would unveil the truth. What I witnessed was a deep-seated apprehension, skillfully masked, yet undeniably genuine. "Display. Me," I said finally. "What? Prove it to me. If someone is manipulating us, facing one another," she demanded. I need to see evidence. After a moment of uncertainty, she gestured toward the structure. My workspace is filled with documents. That might captivate you, but once you encounter them, Rose, there's no turning back. You'll find yourself in the same vulnerable position as I am. Stepping into that building behind her felt like venturing into uncharted territory, a threshold I knew I couldn't retreat from. The elevator ride was silent, heavy with an unspoken energy that lingered between us, unrelated to our case. As she opened her office door, I caught a fleeting glimpse of her. Intimate realm, intricate designs, experimental armaments, and images of industrial mishaps from various places. Land. This is what I've been tracking, she said, spreading files across her desk. Equipment failures, all laid bare before her. Utilizing altered interpretations of my creations, all set in places where your organization has stakes. The trend was unmistakable. Someone had been carefully undermining our efforts, leveraging our shared skills to orchestrate chaos that would jeopardize everything we've worked for. As I examined the details, Melanie inched nearer, her shoulder lightly grazing mine as she indicated specific details. The question is, she said softly, who truly gains when we are together? Go down. I turned to respond and found her mere inches away, close enough to catch the glimmer of gold in those captivating eyes. The wise choice would have been to take a step back to preserve those important professional boundaries. Instead, I felt an irresistible pull to lean in closer. This transforms everything, I murmured. Absolutely everything, she concurred. And when our lips collided, a fierce connection that felt less like giving in and more like a bold declaration against all that had tried to keep us apart. The kiss lingered for perhaps 10 seconds, yet it felt like a daring venture into uncharted territory, surrendering with a white flag raised high. As we separated, Melanie's gaze mirrored the turmoil that churned within me. Professional boundaries were never meant to blur. This simply, particularly not with someone who has the power to ruin my career. This is unbelievable, I murmured. Yet I remained still, distanced from her entirely. She nodded, her fingers lingering in my hair. The dawn of a new day swept in, pulling me from the warmth of dreams into the starkness of reality. She was waiting in my office when I arrived, her expression serious as the chill of winter in Phoenix. Behind him sat a figure in a tailored suit, exuding an air of power and hidden truths. Rose, we need to talk about your investigation, Joe said, diving right in. What inquiry are you referring to? I possess multiple narratives unfolding. The situation surrounding the Garcia defense, as stated in the lawsuit. Dear Mr. Patterson, procurement processes within the Department of Defense. Your questions are disrupting important issues of national importance. A chill began to envelop me, in my heart. Protection of the nation? We're discussing altered tools being utilized in everyday situations. We are. Discussing intricate relationships and hidden emotions. Patterson responded effortlessly. Innovations that some groups are trying to decode for their own gain. She cleared her throat, awkwardly. Rose, could you please send all your files regarding the Garcia case over to Mr. Patterson's office? Thank you. At once. Absolutely not. The documents reveal serious safety breaches that have resulted in tragic loss of life. Those documents are now secretive, Patterson remarked, presenting documents that appeared to be official. Any additional, an inquiry by local officials could jeopardize current federal missions. The atmosphere in the room was charged with an unspoken connection, surrounding me closely. You're putting an end to my inquiry to safeguard Garcia's interests. We're safeguarding our nation. Dominance in the field, Patterson remarked with a chill in her voice. Miss Garcia's creations are groundbreaking. The Chinese would go to great lengths to obtain her designs. A connection sparked between them, a piece of my heart I had yet to find. You're not silencing me because Garcia is at fault. You're closing me off because she isn't. Her gaze revealed my doubt. Let it go, Rose. Some struggles aren't worth the effort. Once they departed, I found myself in solitude within my office, gazing at the files I was meant to hand over, everything Melanie had revealed to me. The night before suddenly revealed its meaning. Someone was appropriating her creations, producing subpar imitations that destroyed individuals, while those in power were safeguarding the wrongdoings to preserve their interests. My phone vibrated with a message from Melanie Murphy's Tenhen. This evening, we have something important to discuss. I discovered her tucked away in the dimmest corner of the pool hall, cradling a glass of whiskey and appearing as if she had welcomed guests of a similar nature. Her leather jacket rested on the chair, a protective layer she had shed. Put on hold for now. Department of Defense? I inched my way into the booth. Opposite her, Homeland Security. Same message, new emblem. She emptied. She raised her glass and signaled for another round. It appears that we are both under some form of guardianship, regardless of our feelings about it. They desire me to give. Through my documents, they expect me to stay silent about the thefts and continue creating weapons for them. Her laugh carried a sharp edge. It seems that my contributions are deemed too significant to allow the usual procedures to stand in the way of safeguarding our interests. I extended my hand over the table, enveloping her hand with my own. What shall we do now? She turned her hand palm, up, our fingers entwined together. This morning, you believed I was capable of taking a life. So, you're curious about us? This morning, I had no idea you were caught in the same web as me. She examined our intertwined fingers, her thumb gently gliding in soft circles on my wrist. My business partner, Gwendolyn, believes I should accept their offer. Silence. Please. Continue creating. Act as if I'm unaware. My creations are being taken, and lives are being lost. Yet, you won't. Would you? The question lingered in the air, charged with unspoken tension. All rational thoughts urged me to leave, to hand over my files and seek a new position somewhere far from federal matters, mysteries, and creators of powerful tools with captivating emerald gazes. But sitting across from Melanie, observing her wrestle with the same daunting decisions I encountered, turning my back felt like a betrayal. I finally said, I wouldn't. A smile spread across her face then. The first real smile I had ever witnessed. Ever since our paths crossed, great, because I have a scheme in mind, and it includes shattering a few boundaries, federal regulations. I'm paying attention. The larcenies are organized, skilled, indicating the involvement of someone with access to hidden secrets and intricate networks. We uncover the truth. We reveal all. How? She leaned closer, her voice softening to a whisper. I've been following the trail of the altered weapons back to their origin. There's intricate details in the production symbols, delicate traces that lead to particular locations. Defense establishments, exclusive, individuals with specialized clearances, organizations engaged in covert operations for clients like Patterson. Her gaze sparkled with a mix of thrill and anger. Care to join me on a hunt, Rose? The wise choice would be to decline. The cautious response would have been to decline. Yet, I found myself agreeing, sealing whatever destiny awaited me. Awaited us both. Good, she said, then paused, reflecting on the events of the previous night in my office. Heat flooded my face. We can't just ignore it. Yes, we must. She captured my gaze and kept it steady. If we are to embark on this journey together, I must understand our position. Where do you expect us to stand? Honestly, she downed her whiskey in a single gulp. I want to take you home tonight and discover what unfolds when we cease to act like adversaries. The words struck me like the air crackled with anticipation. Melanie, yet, before anything else, she rose, scattering bills across the surface and the table. We're about to dive into a federal contractor's database, and it might just change everything for us. She held out her hand, and I understood that accepting it would mean stepping into a realm I couldn't return from. Yet, when I considered those staff at the hospital, reflecting on the neglected safety reports and corporate documents, the decision emerged. It was effortless. I grasped her hand, and she effortlessly lifted me to my feet. "Let's go break some rules," she said, and the kiss that ensued was electric, was hungry and desperate, tasting like whiskey and rebellion. When we broke apart, her eyes held promises that ignited a fire within me. My heart raced. After she whispered against my lips after we saved the world, "Prepare to witness what has been hidden from you." Just 2 weeks into our exploration, I uncovered something that sent a chill down my spine. Strolling through downtown Phoenix after yet another day filled with disappointments, I walked by the sophisticated Meridian Art Gallery. The window showcased a refined portrait auction announcement, and there, at the heart of it all, was my visage, not captured in a photograph, but rendered in vibrant strokes, oil on canvas, capturing me in vivid detail from a perspective I'd never considered. The artist had managed to portray me in my office late. In the quiet of the night, I pored over accident reports, my face reflecting the frustration that came when the details of a case just wouldn't align together. Even more unsettling was the deep understanding it unveiled. The way I unconsciously tucked my hair behind my ear. When focused, the precise hue of my blue eyes in moments of anger. The sign stated, "Portrait of an unknown. Female. Creator, unknown. Opening bid, 25,000. I felt a rush of emotions as I stood frozen on the sidewalk. People moved around me like a gentle current, each one a fleeting moment in a vast sea. I could feel the weight of someone's gaze, a careful observation that lingered just a bit too long. To capture these intimate moments, the awareness sent shivers down my spine and quickened my heartbeat all at once. My phone buzzed with a message from Melanie. "Look, you discovered it." I turned around, searching the busy street. She was leaning against a coffee shop across from the gallery, wearing dark jeans and a fitted black top, a confident stride that seemed to draw me in. The air crackled with unspoken tension as she approached, a playful smirk dancing on her lips, that alluring charm that still took my breath away. "You were aware of this?" I insisted when she finally arrived. "Commissioned it." The words struck me with an intensity I couldn't ignore. "You what?" 3 months ago, before we met at Murphy's Part, her green eyes held no apology, only that thrilling honesty that defined. I was captivated by every detail of her. I had to uncover the layers of the person before me. "So, you had me followed. I had you watched by an expert. There's a distinction." Heat flooded my face. A mix of embarrassment and fury coursed through me. For 3 months, someone had been observing me, capturing my intimate moments. "And you believe that's okay, Rose? Don't I take a step back, yearning for space from her captivating allure? All this time, the connection we've shared, was it all part of some intricate dance?" Her expression changed, revealing a hint of fragility. "Initially, yes, I had a plan to use leverage against the safety inspector who was threatening my company. But then, everything changed when I saw you play pool that first night. I observed you navigate those challenging shots with a skill that mirrors the meticulousness I apply to my creations. You surprised me in ways I didn't foresee. What were you hoping for? A lifeless automaton shuffling documents to validate her salary?" She moved closer, and I caught her familiar scent of expensive perfume mixed with an exhilarating hint of danger. Instead, I discovered someone who truly cares about the individuals suffering in our midst. Evening shoppers went about their business, unaware of the personal upheaval unfolding on the sidewalk. The artwork in the gallery window seemed to bear witness to a breach of intimacy, but something deeper as well. Evidence that someone had invested the effort to truly understand me, to recognize the nuances that often go unnoticed by others. Missed. The artist captured things I didn't know anyone had observed, I said softly. Because you deserve to be seen. Her voice fell to that husky whisper that sent my heart racing. Each late night spent going over precautions, reports. Each time you clash with your superior over procedures, the way you nibble your lip while contemplating it's a tangled situation. And you crossed a line. You are completely justified, and I acknowledge my shortcomings, expressing regret for it. The truth was both maddening and captivating at the same time. A part of me yearned to turn and leave, to safeguard what little privacy and professional integrity I had left. Yet a deeper part of me was captivated by this insight into how Melanie perceived me, the nuances she found significant enough to record. Why is it up for auction? I inquired. Because another person desires it intensely, willing to spend a significant amount. Her expression darkened. The same individual, who's been pulling the strings for both of us from the start. Patterson or those backing him. The artwork was meant to stay hidden. Rose. The reality that it's out there for everyone to see indicates that someone got their hands on it. Someone who desires you to. Awareness that enveloped me. A sensation that prickled at the back of my neck. The coolness of the desert night did little to ease the tension building within me. Message. It's a threat. She cast a quick look at the gallery window, where eager auction browsers were already examining. The fragments whisper warnings, suggesting that safety is an illusion, that they can find you no matter where you go. Perhaps it's time to escape, to break free of Phoenix before this escalates. Or we step inside and discover who's interested in your portrait. That unsettling smile was back, the one that hinted she was already 3 steps ahead of the rest. Want to disrupt your own auction? The thought was thrilling, reckless, and perhaps just what those who opposed us hoped we would choose. Yet, as I stood on that sidewalk, looking at the intimate portrait of my private moments, I felt something shift inside me. Fear was being replaced by a warm sense of belonging. Frustration bubbled within me, pushing me to act without thinking. What on earth? I suggested. Let's find out who's purchased my likeness. The gallery buzzed with the city's artistic luminaries, individuals who, Melanie had managed to secure an invitation and a bidding paddle, collecting exquisite pieces as if they were cherished trophies. An air of self-assuredness hinted that this was not her initial experience with intense bidding. We settled ourselves towards the rear, where we could watch from the shadows, our presence barely felt. As my portrait was presented for bidding, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The auctioneer's opening remarks were delivered with a polished detachment, yet there was an undercurrent in his voice that hinted this piece held a deeper significance, unique, deserving of genuine focus. The auction commenced at $25,000 and surged rapidly. Lot 47 reached $35,000. Should I hear 40? A person in an expensive military-style suit raised their paddle. Even from across the room, I recognized. The firm stance and thoughtful demeanor of a person used to commanding without hesitation. That's not Patterson, I whispered to Melanie. No, but I'd wager he's connected to the same people. The bidding continued, climbing past 50,000 with a rhythmic intensity. Each bid resonated like a heartbeat, drawing everyone deeper into the unfolding drama. Invasion. Outsiders assigning worth to the most intimate parts of my existence. Yet when the moment of truth arrived, at $68,000, I experienced a different kind of sensation. Empowerment. Someone desired this portrait intensely, willing to part with a significant sum for it, indicating it held great meaning, precious. Something they longed to hold or influence. Congratulations, Melanie whispered softly as the crowd started to thin out. You've officially become more valuable than what most people earn in a year. This isn't finished, I remarked, observing the soldier finalize his transaction details. Whatever they believe they are. Purchasing, it just won't happen. Excellent. She intertwined her arm with mine. The gesture was a blend of care and claim, because I'm beginning to appreciate this side of you, the one who stands up for herself. As we exited the gallery side by side, I caught our reflection in the window pane. We appeared as if we were in on a secret, accomplices in a beautifully intricate plot. The thought should have filled me with fear, yet it wrapped around me like a warm embrace, revealing a hidden part of my soul I never knew was there. The week following the auction, everything transformed. Melanie began to appear in all the places I frequented: the cafe close by, my workplace, the market where I picked up my weekend essentials, even the cozy Thai eatery where I dined solo on Tuesday evenings. Initially, I dismissed it as mere paranoia, yet the pattern was undeniable, reliable to be serendipitous. "Are you following me now?" I asked, when I discovered. She sat quietly, with a beer in hand at Murphy's ambiance of the bar, wrapping around her like a warm embrace on that Thursday evening. Each day following the auction, her tone remained unapologetic. Concerning it, "You've got a secret, Rose. Dark vehicle, official registration, 2 individuals inside. A tire that believes it goes unnoticed." The words sent a familiar wave of anxiety curling in my stomach. "How much time will it take?" 3 days, that, I've observed. It could definitely use some more depth. She motioned toward the vacant booth opposite her. "Take a seat. We need to have a conversation about the inquiry I commissioned." I slipped into the booth, keenly attuned to the presence of every other guest in the bar. "What inquiry?" "The chosen one, into who requested your likeness." Her green eyes held a weighty intensity, devoid of their typical mischievous sparkle. I sought out the discreet observer who conducted the watchful monitoring. It seems I wasn't the only one vying for his attention. Significance of a person. Someone else was also keeping an eye on you. New workplace, new goals. Yet the aim remains unchanged. Her. Pulled out a folder, sliding it across the table with a sense of anticipation. "Rose, you've been watched for 8 long months, from a time long before our paths crossed." The collection held images that captured almost a full year of my journey, stepping out of my space, constructing. Me having a heated discussion with Joe in the parking lot after yet another overlooked safety report. Me enjoying lunch by myself at different places, eateries scattered throughout Phoenix. The breach was profound, personal, and filled with dread. 8 months, I murmured, scrolling through snapshots of memories I believed were just ours. Why not? Most likely scenario. There's been a careful design behind every moment, orchestrated from the very start. The breakdowns, our gathering at Murphy's even, the federal involvement. She leaned in closer, her voice softening to a secretive murmur. "I believe we were destined to discover one another, Rose." The suggestions left me feeling dizzy. Established. How up? Considerate. You delve into safety breaches related to alterations. Arms. I create the unique tools of power. We encounter each other in a way that ensures an undeniable connection between us, each other, and ultimately collaborate. Then the agents arrive, determined to block any attempt we might make to follow the proper procedures. Are you really claiming that everything we've built together is just a fabrication?" A fleeting expression danced across her features, a depth of openness I had seldom encountered from her. The situation that united us felt orchestrated. What transpired next, what we share, is genuine. Her fingers gently enveloped mine as she leaned closer, a spark igniting between us. The caress was charged, igniting a warmth that surged through my arm regardless of the circumstances. At least it feels genuine to me. I examined her features, seeking signs that might reveal hidden truths. The emotions mirrored my own, a blend of uncertainty and undeniable pull, entangled in frustration over being deceived. "How can I be sure you're not involved? Because if I were, I would be much more skilled at deceiving you." Her thumb gently traced soft circles against my wrist. And because I've been shielding you from the watchful eyes you were completely unaware of, how are you planning to keep me safe? The dark. Car trailing behind you. They've been facing some challenges with their gear. Flat tires, dead batteries, enigmatic engine troubles. That enticing smile had returned, edgy and thrilling. Unfortunate circumstances. In spite of everything, I felt a playful smile tug at the corners of my lips. You've been undermining federal agents. I have been, balancing the scales. Her fingers wrapped around mine softly. Rose, no matter what they're up to, we won't come out on top by adhering to their guidelines. So, what are your thoughts? We fade away for a moment. Provide. We need to give ourselves the time to uncover the true intentions at play. She paused for a moment, then locked her gaze with mine. The term hovered between us, a blend of hope and danger. Everything rational claimed this was madness, that placing her full trust in her was unthinkable, might lead to my demise. But nestled in that softly illuminated booth, enveloped by the comforting sounds of Murphy's logical mind was struggling to hold its ground against a more profound force within. Where shall we venture to? I have a spot away, the safe haven. A place where we can focus on our passions without the constant fear of being watched. Her expression shifted nearly, gentle. Somewhere we can explore what this connection means for us without anyone watching over our shoulders. Do you understand what this is, Rose? She turned my hand palm up, tracing the traces with her fingertip. From that very first evening by the pool table, you were aware. The caress was enchanting, sending. Awareness danced through my nerves, a gentle flutter igniting my senses. She was absolutely right. I had always known. The chemistry was undeniable and intense, complicated by a rivalry that had evolved into something more profound. It's complicated, I replied, softly. The most beautiful moments often are. She raised our intertwined fingers, placing a gentle brush of lips against my knuckles that left me momentarily breathless. Join me. Together, we'll uncover the truth. Reveal whoever's been hiding in the shadows, controlling our paths and determining our next steps. And if it turns out you're not being truthful, then you'd have to kill me. Her tone was playful, yet the intensity in her gaze was unmistakable. Due to my not allowing anyone to cause you pain, Rose. No one. Not the authorities, not the hidden puppeteers, not a single soul. The warmth in her voice unraveled something deep within me. Before I could reconsider, I leaned across the table and kissed her with an intense longing. Her flavor was a mix of freedom and defiance, and when she kissed me back, it felt like a spark igniting, a moment suspended in time where everything else faded away, forging an unbreakable bond with temptation. All right, I murmured softly against her lips. Let us vanish. A smile spread across her face, a mix of victory and allure. Yet there was an undeniable softness in her gaze. Once, travel light. We depart this evening. This evening, the watch team believes. You're back for the night. That gives us about 6 hours before they notice you're missing. She rose, throwing cash onto the table. My place first, then we disappear. Following her out of Murphy's felt like leaping off a cliff into free fall. But when she took my hand in the parking lot, fingers interlacing with a confidence that hinted at something deeper, I felt a spark that ignited a connection between us. Been waiting for this moment. Falling didn't feel like surrender. It felt like finally learning how to soar. Melanie's safe house revealed itself as a repurposed warehouse nestled in an industrial area, a mere 20 minutes from Phoenix, the sort of a hidden sanctuary where curiosity faded into the shadows, and the remnants of observation devices lay forgotten amidst a tangle of unseen forces. From nearby power lines. This place feels like home, she remarked, entering a complicated alarm code. It may not be much on the outside, but it's safe. The atmosphere was unexpectedly cozy despite the raw, industrial elements. The bare brick walls were adorned with technical drawings and case files. A massive leather couch dominated one corner, facing banks of computer screens, creating an inviting space for collaboration and connection. Monitors that would make any agency envious. It was like entering Melanie's thoughts, a beautifully chaotic order with hidden depths. Impressive, I remarked, as I sank into the couch while she engaged with varying security systems. How long have you cared for this place? 3 years. Ever since I discovered my everyday existence felt scrutinized. She settled beside me on the couch, 2 glasses of wine in her grasp. I had never invited anyone like this before. Here before. Why me? Because you're the first person I've encountered who's as cautious as I am. She tucked one leg under herself, turning to face me. And because I trust you, even though we're supposed to be adversaries, especially because of that. Her smile was gentle, devoid of its typical sharpness. Anyone could feel at ease. They're friends, Rose. It requires a profound connection to place your faith in someone molded for your downfall. The wine was exquisite, gentle, and inviting. Outside, the bustling city of Phoenix buzzed with nocturnal energy, yet within the warehouse, it felt as though we were the only two souls in existence. The solitude was both exhilarating and daunting in equal parts. Share with me about the investigation, I said, trying to concentrate on something other than how her black sweater accentuated her figure. What did you discover? The watchful eyes began tracking you 8 months ago, immediately following your initial report about. She adjusted the security equipment with precision. Pulling out a laptop, her fingers danced across the keys. But here's where it gets intriguing. The individual who engaged the investigator utilized a front company that leads back to the same defense contractor acquiring my designs. They observed us closely, their gaze both intense and calculating. The incident you looked into included tools from this contractor. Each document you submitted was blocked, examined thoroughly before presenting to your superiors. The display was awash with intricate diagrams that resembled a web of secrets, theories brought to life. Rose, I believe they've been engineering mishaps to undermine both our businesses. The wine turned bitter in my mouth. Why? Control. If Garcia Defense faces the consequences for mistakes, resources, the armed forces could obtain my business for a mere fraction of its worth. If your petroleum enterprise faces a series of legal defeats, the same individuals can acquire those assets as well. Business battles, business betrayal. She shut the laptop, her expression somber. Lives were lost so that some greedy individuals in suits could play with stock prices. The anger that followed was clean and pure, igniting the final remnants of my professional detachment. These weren't mere abstractions, dangerous deceptions. They were deliberate acts of harm masked as misfortunes. And we had been the unsuspecting. Instruments. What do we do about it? We make them pay. She set her wine aside, shifting nearer on the couch. Yet, we must endure just a bit longer to collect proof that will hold. How long do Armard if you can? Do you think we have enough time? If we're cautious, maybe a week before they discover us. Her hand discovered my connection. Hands entwined, sparking with a familiar energy. Before they understand that we've unraveled their scheme, plan. It could take days. The uncertainty should have filled me with dread. But as I sat, next to Melanie in the soft light of the screens, I experienced a sense of security I hadn't felt in ages. Her company was magnetic, pulling me into her sphere with an irresistible allure. I found myself unable to resist. Rose, she whispered softly. There's something else. What? Earlier tonight, when you asked how you could trust me, she turned to face me completely. Her green eyes. Overwhelming. The truth is, You can't entirely. This entire scenario is far too intricate, filled with hidden truths. So why should I remain? Because of faith isn't about certainty. It's about embracing vulnerability with another, regardless of the risks involved. Her free hand reached up to graze my cheek, thumb following the curve of my jaw. And because I've never desired anything as deeply as I desire this with you, the revelation lingered in the air, a delicate thread connecting us, poised for a leap into the unknown. Every logical thought in my mind shouted warnings about manipulation and professional suicide. But as she drew nearer, her fragrance enveloped me. Like luxurious scents and whispered vows, logic faded into the background. This is madness, I murmured, entirely. Her lips hovered just above mine. Do you care? Rather than responding, I stepped closer, closing the gap between us. Us. The kiss was fervent and urgent, imbued with the essence of wine and defiance. As her fingers wove through my hair, tugging me closer, closer, years of unspoken feelings finally found their release. We pulled away, gasping for air, foreheads intimate in the soft glow. Her gaze carried the same bold sincerity that had defined every aspect of her being from the beginning. I desire you, she stated plainly. Not as a tactic or a ploy, just you. Right here, I inquired, suddenly aware of the gritty surroundings. The screens flickering light across the raw, weathered walls. Here, now, before the world intrudes again. Her fingers traced the line of my jaw, sending a thrill coursing through my anxious energy. Unless you'd prefer to hold off for a better moment. I chuckle in spite of it all. When has any of this? It had never been easy. She rose, extending her hand. Join me. Taking her hand felt like a decision that would shape the course of everything to come. The bedroom was just beyond an archway framed by a grand bed that seemed more suited for a lavish hotel than an industrial vault. House. Melanie, I began. But she quieted me with another kiss, more intense this time, brimming with desire and longing. When we finally pulled away, her fingers were deftly navigating the buttons of my blouse, each movement confident and familiar. The brush of her fingertips on my skin ignited a fire within me. Years of hidden desire surged to the surface, finally discovering our connection. We embraced softly, cherishing each other, exploring every curve and contour as if they were landscapes waiting to be explored and cherished. Protected. Her skin felt like silk beneath my fingers. Her reactions to my touch were a blend of vulnerability and intensity. When release finally embraced us both, it felt like returning to a sanctuary I never realized I was yearning for. Afterward, we lay, entwined in soft, luxurious sheets, her head resting gently on my shoulder while the distant hum of the city enveloped us in our fleeting sanctuary. Sanctuary. Rose. Her voice caressed my skin like a gentle whisper. Yeah, whatever unfolds. Next, this was genuine. I pressed a kiss to the top of her head, inhaling her fragrance. I understand. Outside, our adversaries were likely coming to terms with our absence. Before long, we would need to confront the repercussions of our exploration and the powers at play, surrounded by shadows. Yet in that instant, cradling Melanie in the gentle embrace of night, the dawn brought a warning through the encrypted channels Melanie had, and it felt like a challenge we could confront side by side, established years ago. Her business partner, Gwendolyn's message, was urgent and chilling. They're coming. You have. Perhaps an hour later, I stirred to see Melanie already in her clothes, hurriedly stowing gear into military cases. The gentle embrace of the woman who had comforted me through the night was now gone, replaced by someone whose movements were sharp and precise. Rose, get. We have to go. What's going on? There's a federal raid on the way, Gwendolyn warns. They've got warrants out for both of us, and enough firepower to take this place down. She threw me some clothes from the floor. They're not planning to take prisoners. The words sliced through my morning fog like a chill breeze. Less than 12 hours after, we had shared an intimate moment. After I had finally opened my heart to her, and now we found ourselves fleeing once more. Where do we go? Anywhere but here. She closed the final case, then took my hand. Shoulders. Rose listened intently. No matter what unfolds in the coming hours, hold on to the truth of last night. Everything else might be a facade, but that moment was genuine. Just as I was about to inquire about her words, her phone buzzed to life. The caller ID showed Joe's name, and something in her expression made my stomach twist with unease. Answer it, she urged. But be cautious with your words. There was a tension in Joe's voice, a desperation that felt unfamiliar. Rose, where on earth are you? You? The atmosphere is thick with tension, and the agents are everywhere, probing for answers I can't provide. What sort of curious about your connection with Melanie Garcia? Or perhaps inquiries regarding the sensitive details you've allegedly taken? Rose? They've got proof that you've been giving her safety reports for cash. The allegation struck hard. Like a sudden jolt. I understand it's not accurate. Yet they possess records, financial details, and even pictures of the two of you together. His voice lowered to a soft whisper. We need to talk about what's been happening. It's crucial that you come in and clarify your side of the story before things escalate further. I glanced at Melanie, her expression darkening with each passing moment. She shook her head vigorously, silently conveying her warning about the impending danger. Joe, I need some space to sort through my thoughts. But time is slipping away. They're coming for you. Warrants within the hour. He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice held a depth that resonated with something profound. Rose, I've known you for 5 years. I trust you completely, but I can't ignore the fact that you're entangled with Garcia, and that puts you in the spotlight. How were you involved? Don't act innocent. Half the team noticed the two of you, together at Murphy's 5. And after yesterday's raid on Garcia Defense Solutions, her significant other is sharing the news with everyone, who heard that you charmed classified information out of Melanie. My heart dropped. Gwendolyn mentioned that you exploited your connection to acquire sensitive designs, then traded the details to overseas contractors. Her voice took on a sense of urgency. Please, just come in willingly, work with us, she implored. The tension hung thick in the air, and I felt a storm brewing inside me. I ended the call, my hands trembling with a mix of anger and a sense of being wronged. Melanie was looking at me with an unreadable expression. It was a mix of guilt and defiance. Your partner betrayed us, I said. Gwendolyn's looking out for the company. I anticipated that. She shifted to the window, scanning the vacant parking lot beneath. What caught me off guard was the extent to which they recorded our connection. You sensed this would unfold. I understood it was a possibility. She turned back to me. Those green eyes held the same captivating truth that had ensnared me from the very start. Rose, everything I shared with you regarding the investigation was genuine. However, I held back some details about my true motivations. You! The revelation struck deep, like a blade piercing through. What was it that you kept from me? That my trust was already compromised? Federal investigation? I required someone within the oil sector to shield my own endeavors. Her voice was calm, yet I sensed the subtle quiver beneath it. I longed for a connection that would reveal the reasons behind my feelings, was inquiring about the breakdowns of the gear. So, you played with my emotions at first, yes, but Rose, what transpired between us, what unfolded last night, that wasn't manipulation. That was genuine. The words were meant to bring solace, yet all I sensed was the chilling realization that I had been outmaneuvered by a master. Do you understand the distinction? If this were merely about manipulation, I wouldn't be putting my life on the line to keep you safe at this moment. She snatched her jacket. inspecting the hidden tools I never realized she possessed. I could have easily turned you in to the authorities hours ago, just walked away. Away clean. Why didn't you? She stepped nearer, just close enough for me to see. Gold flecks in those captivating eyes. Because somewhere between despising you and craving you, I found myself falling for you. The revelation lingered in the atmosphere, alluring yet dangerous. As she extended her hand towards me, I found myself unable to retreat. In the midst of it all, her kiss held a sense of urgency, a bittersweet blend of farewell and unspoken vows that lingered in the air, uncertain if they could ever be fulfilled. "We must leave," she murmured softly against my lips. "Together, if you'll accept me. Understanding everything you've learned, realizing how I took advantage of you, will you still have enough faith in me to escape together?" The wise decision was to walk away, to call Joe, and surrender myself to federal protection. But looking into her eyes, seeing, amidst the fierce facade of confidence, Smart sensed a deep vulnerability that felt like cowardice. Where do we escape to? Mexico, at first, then somewhere far away, where the law can't reach us. She hoisted her gear over her shoulder. "Rose, if we go through with this, there's no turning back. Returning to a life of hiding. We'll be seen as outlaws, judged by society. And if we choose not to, we face a lifetime of confinement. In federal prison, assuming we endure long enough to face the trial. The decision became clear when viewed through that lens. I seized. I grabbed my jacket and trailed behind her, my thoughts swirling with unspoken possibilities. Once outside, Phoenix was waking up to another day filled with hidden truths and unspoken feelings, but we wouldn't be there to witness it. "Melanie," I said as we approached her. "Motorcycle. Yeah, once this is all behind us, once we're in the clear, you're going to share your story with me. All things. Every secret, every deception, every reality you've kept buried." She handed me a helmet, her smile a blend of longing and resolve. Everything As we journeyed into the dawn of the desert, the sound of federal sirens echoed in the distance. In that moment, I understood that the allure of promises whispered by daring souls was all I had ever yearned to trust. The journey? Before me lay an expanse of possibilities, both daunting and exhilarating. Yet, for the first time, that sense of the unknown was liberating. 6 months after we vanished into the vastness of the Mexican desert, I stirred awake in our transformed ranch house to the sound of Melanie preparing coffee and cursing at her laptop in Spanish. The morning light streaming through adobe walls highlighted her dark hair, shine like copper, and for a moment, I forgot we were technically on the run from the law. "Issues?" I inquired, walking softly across the warm terracotta tiles to glance back with a knowing smile. "Complicated feelings." Our collection of moments just brought down Patterson and 3 of his contractors. She turned in her chair, effortlessly pulling me onto her lap with a relaxed ease. The closeness we nurtured during those long months of solitude. It seems that federal prosecutors become quite intrigued when you can demonstrate that military officials were taking the lives of civilians for their own gain. The inquiry we initiated from a distance. It had taken longer than anticipated, but the outcome was truly remarkable. Shared information with reporters, intentionally disclosed files to legislative review boards, and thoughtfully coordinated narratives from those affected had forged an undeniable wave of responsibility. Every accusation dismissed, every charges dismissed, accompanied by congressional honors and official apologies from 3 government bodies. Her smile was triumphant and predatory in equal measure. "We're not just free, Rose. We're champions." I kissed her then, savoring coffee and clarity. The months in Mexico had been intricate, compelling us to face every deception and control that had united us. Yet, in the journey from building trust to sharing a life, we had created something genuine. So, we can return home. We can venture anywhere we desire. She presented official documents that appeared both costly and highly legitimate, fresh identities, pristine histories, and enough settlement money to begin anew wherever we desire. Where do you envision our fresh start? Her fingers glided, gentle traces on my exposed skin, igniting a familiar spark within me. No matter the distance, the truth was simple, sincere, and 6 months ago would have filled me with fear. Now it felt like returning to a piece of myself I had never known existed. I have a proposal, I said, settling more comfortably in her lap. I'm all ears. Bryant Garcia, providing thoughtful, principled security strategies for organizations that genuinely care about safeguarding their employees. I stepped back. Documents I had been diligently crafting for weeks. Your mastery of weaponry, paired with my understanding of safety, came together to forge something remarkable that truly brings hope instead of despair. She examined the proposal, her demeanor transforming from surprise to something more profound. You desire to be partners in every significant way. Her kiss was the response. Enough. Hungry and desperate, brimming with unspoken vows about what lay ahead. As we separated, her gaze carried the same thrilling intensity, the sincerity that had captivated me from the start. Yet now it was intertwined with something I had come to understand as love. Rose, she said, her voice trembling with deep feeling. I have something important to share with you. What? That first night at Murphy's when I dared you to a game of pool. Her fingers wove through my hair, a gentle caress, become entwined in your world. Yet here I am, feeling this undeniable pull towards you. It was meant to be a game, a strategy, but my heart had other ideas. Neutralize the threat you embodied. What transformed? You did. The way you measured those challenging moments with the same accuracy I apply in crafting intricate designs. The way you cherished more than your own ambitions. Her thumb glided along my jawline, igniting a thrill. Through my entire being, I found myself captivated by you long before I grasped the depth of my feelings. The revelation should have painful, yet it was the last revelation I had been longing for. And now, I can't envision my existence without with you in it. She stood, effortlessly lifting me, as she carried me toward our bedroom. Now, I want to express just how much you mean to me. Our time together felt different this time, more deliberate and tender than before. The intense longing that had defined our initial meetings, she explored my body as if it were uncharted land, envisioned a life intertwined, each moment filled with the warmth of our shared dreams. Every gentle caress held the weight of the future we were crafting side by side. In the aftermath, we lay entwined in soft cotton sheets, the warm desert breeze gently rustling the curtains that framed our gaze upon the infinite sky. The stillness was cozy, imbued with a deep connection and dreams for the future. Rose. Her voice was gentle against my neck. When we return to Phoenix, when we launch the consulting firm, there's something I want to do first. What's that? She lifted her head, meeting my eyes with an intense gaze that held a hint of mischief, the smile that captured my heart. I'm eager to head to Murphy's pool hall and invite you for another round. Why? Because that's where this truly started. Not with watching or controlling or government plots. Her fingers glided, the patterns on my bare shoulder. Touch electric with possibility. That's where I first saw the woman I longed to share my life with. My life with. The words enveloped me like a gentle embrace, filled with warmth and clarity, resonating perfectly. Outside our window, the Mexican desert stretched toward a horizon full of possibilities we hadn't dared imagine 6 months ago. What are the risks involved this time? I asked. Everything, she replied with a soft smile. Winner takes all. I kissed her then, savoring the rich blend of coffee and the sweet whispers of promises, envisioning the future we were creating our future step by step. When we finally made our way back to Phoenix 3 weeks later, Bryant Garcia Consulting was ready to launch, in a stylish urban workspace overlooking the mountains, with a roster of clients that featured every prominent corporation in Arizona. Our initial case centered around probing safety breaches at an oil refinery where employees had faced expressing frustration over altered security gear for months. Standing under the scorching sun, recording corporate, the weight of past actions looming over me, I sensed that familiar ache in my core shift into a deeper, more profound realization. Completely. The fulfillment of a meaningful endeavor, shared with someone who grasped every nuance of what motivated me. Melanie stood beside me, her skills with weapons harmonizing beautifully with my understanding of safety. Together, we were unyielding. "Another malfunction," she exclaimed, striking the bent metal. "Another instance. We're going to triumph," I asserted, jotting down notes that would truly make their way to court this time. That evening, we rejoiced. At Murphy's pool hall, where everything had begun with daring shots and captivating women, the regulars greeted us return like triumphant champions. And when Melanie dared me to a game, the whole bar came together to witness the showdown. "Same. The stakes are high as always?" she asked, chalking her cue with that alluring confidence that sent my heart racing. "Winner takes all," I concurred. Yet this time, we were both aware that we had already claimed everything that held significance.